Welcome to part 3 of the video series about the TBS Mini multifunction card and setting it up. In this one we're going to talk about setting up parameters and the Diagnostics tab in the software and switching outputs. So one thing to note is that this card has a variable voltage, 3.5 to 12 volts, and the voltage coming in is what's coming out. It doesn't have resistors to change the voltage here. So because I'm using this in RC and I'll be running this off a Castle BC, I know it's going to be 5 volts. So I'll show you the diagnostics. You can read the voltage of the card with the software. We'll do that later. So anyway, part 1 and part 2. Basics and sound sets. What I first did when I was playing around with this is I just grabbed some LEDs out of an old computer sort of thing and plugged them straight into the card, and I was able to experiment with the software and understand what the settings mean, but I blew the LED and then I blew a second one because I'm dopey. After that I did some googling and found out what I had to do to make the LEDs work and not blow, because I was running a 3.3 volt LED on 5 volts. That's what was happening. So now I've got these set up with resistors or whatnot, so they'll run properly. So don't plug your LEDs straight into this because they won't last very long. If you do googling on LEDs and resistors and voltage and all that sort of stuff, there's heaps of information out there. That's all I did. Right, let's go to the software, I think. So we've got the card connected to the laptop and the software now, and if you need to know about how to do that, check out the second video in this playlist and it will explain that. I've got the Diagnostic tab open here, and I just want to go over a couple of things that I find useful in this. The supply voltage here will tell you what voltage your card's receiving. So it's getting, you can see it's getting about 6 volts coming in through the speed controller, and so that tells me that's the input, voltage input, which will also be the voltage output. So they'll be switching at 6 volts, and now I know what voltage I'm dealing with, because it's a variable voltage card, what voltage I'm dealing with when hooking up my LEDs, and what kind of resistors and all that sort of stuff I need to put on there so they don't blow. The other interesting thing, very handy thing on the Diagnostic tab is the execute function. The execute function, you can tell the card to run a function that you've got set up in it, be it play sounds or an action like flash LEDs or something like that. And it's handy, you'll see. It's a wee bit different to pushing play here. That there plays the sound from the software in the through the laptop speakers, whereas if I tell it to play the sound from here and click execute, is playing the sound from the sound card. You're giving a command to the sound card, the same as using your transmitter would. So you can quickly check if your settings are correct for what you want to do directly from the software. It's quite neat. Right, so here we are on the parameter tab, and what I'll do is I'll just quickly go over the layout. Here we have the inputs. These relate to the prop 1, 2 and 3 pins on the card. So the input type can be RC or analog, but for we're only concerned with RC. I don't know what the other one's about. So you can see pretty quickly how these relate to the pins. Then you've got the type. You got gas, so that's for your ESC. Second gas if you had a tracked vehicle. things like that. You got 2 key encoders and a 1 to 2 function and a sound on change. And for prop 3 we have 2 key and 12 key. So they are the types that you can use for different programming modes. Sound is engine start type, like if it's manual, auto start, etc. And you can also change the volume, the engine sounds and other sounds, they have their own master volume. For example, motor sounds will be M1 through to M6 here, and then sound 1 through to 16. So they have their own separate volume masters as well as their own individual volume on every sound. So what we're going to do is read the parameters that were loaded in the card when I got it from Thomas. So now you'll see this is being set up for indirect sound selection, and you can see that it's a manual start here. Prop 1 is gas for the motor and all that sort of stuff, and prop 3 is set to coder 2 key, and you'll see coder function, first coder here, the position and what action to take, and in this case all the actions relate to playing a sound except for the last two, which the action is adjust the volume of the card up and down. You can also tell it to do things as well as just play a sound. Here you'll see things like A1 through to A4 and then 10 and 11, and they have different things they can do. So the first thing is saying what pin it's going to switch off and on, and then how it's going to do it. So you got off on, solid on, a flashing and a blinking. So you would use these for blinking indicators or flashing LEDs with a machine gun sound effect. This is what these are all about. And there you see the volume up and down, and then you see some other ones, RC positions here, and that's to do with controlling the two PWM outputs pins. You can send commands to servos. And at first you might be thinking, what does that mean? The easiest way to do that is to read your voltage on your card and then use the execute function to tell the card to do a thing. And all you've got to do is figure out that the first two letters, A2 blink, that's telling me it's pin 2, and then it's telling me the action is blink. So if you hook up a couple of LEDs like this and connect them to A2, when you hit execute, that's sending a blinking signal to that pin. If you click execute a second time, it turns it off. It's like a toggle switch. So then you get to understand what all these are. Like this will fire pins 1 and 2 at the same time, and it will do a double blink, which is same as blink in double speed. Double flash is a kind of flashing kind of. So turn those off again, and you can also turn them on, like off on, A2 on. So for example, if you wanted to have headlights, you could turn your headlights off and on from this card, as well as control your sounds. And you could hook that up to prop 2 and use a different switch on the controller for your light control. You don't have to hook them all up to the same channel that you're controlling your sounds with. So, and it's the same all around here. If you switch out the pins, or switch out the LEDs and put them to a different pin, you can then in the software see what these other things do on the pins here. The other thing that's quite cool is that now that we know we can switch outputs, we can also use what's called a sound function in the parameter, where I can say when I play sound number 1, flash A4 pin. When I play sound number 2, turn on pin number A2. Because this is a parameter, we write the parameter to the card first, and then we tell the card to execute sound 2, and it should also turn on an LED. There you go. Okay, so what I've done here is connected this linear servo into the PWM1 pins, output pins on the card. And what I'll do is I'll just start up the screen capture software here. So PWM outputs, and that's set to RC1. And I've set these positions here because I played around with this servo before, and I'm just setting my endpoints basically, fully retracted, fully extended. Now that I've got PWM1 output, I have set RC1 position 1 and position 2 in the parameters here, 1 and 2, and it's going to tell my servo to go to position 20 and 255. So if I go to that one, that might already be it. So let's suck that in. Position 2. So that's pretty much how that works. So you can get a few extra controls out of one channel by using the 2-key encoder, and you can control servos off one channel, multiple servos. The other thing you can do, of course, is map it to a sound, just like you did with the LEDs. So if we map these two sounds here to RC positionings of that servo, write it to the card, so when you ask it to play those sounds now, I think it's sound 1 and 2, wasn't it? I'm not sure. When that sound was executed, it also sends a signal to retract the servo. So these actions and these sounds make absolutely no sense, but it shows you the theory, the principle of the card and all that sort of stuff. Alright, one thing I will say just quickly is this setting here, smoke, is usually null. If you aren't using a smoke unit with this, in conjunction with this card, don't leave it at that, because that will change the behaviours of the pins, and if you don't realise you've switched that and you're trying to do stuff with LEDs, it will change the way those pins work. Now when we go in here and we use the engine start and we execute the function, the reason you see those LEDs turn on is that will be the smoke unit being told, give it a good old puff of smoke on the startup sound sequence. And if you don't have that on and you write that, you will notice then when you engine start execute, it doesn't send a signal to A3. Or possibly A4, because both the pins A3 and A4 are used for smoke unit control. So that's an interesting thing. That's very interesting. So I've got it plugged back into the transmitter and all that sort of stuff on the truck, and you can see I've just temporarily thrown these really LEDs in here for brake lights, and so you'll get an idea now of what it means by mapping the sound to the action. So by triggering it, selecting my slot and triggering it, I am telling it to play the brake sound effect and tap on the I can adjust the length of this, how long this light is on for, by adjusting the flash sound. So that's just one example of how you can get this little unit to do more than just play sounds. Many opportunities. Anyway, I hope this wee video series has been helpful for people that are contemplating a sound unit or a multifunction unit.